Locked, Stocked, and Two Smoking Barrels. Uh, Fantastic movie, I have to admit. Um, Coming to you late at night, in the dark, almost. See, I can bring some more light to the situation. See if I can illuminate my thoughts here. That's a little bit better. Nah, I don't like that. What is it? What's that light circle thing going on? Let me turn it back, right? I should have did this before I even started recording, but it's all part of the process. How is it? It's like an orb around me or something. I don't know. Yeah, well, it is what it is in that situation. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, light. All right. And so I had to take some notes on this one. It's pretty complicated. Uh, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, quick overview. Follows four friends on their uh, get rich quick scheme, kind of, sort of, but uh, It takes place in Britain, so it's kind of, well, it is. It's foreign to me because I'm not from over across the pond, as they call it. I'm not from there. I'm from America. So, but it's the same basic idea of anybody who's a hustler or petty thief or something like that, career criminal, whatever you want to call it, in the states. They do, they steal stuff, they sell it, they do card tricks and gamble and things like that, whatever to get a buck. Really, I mean, they don't take the time to get a legitimate job. Well, one of them has a legitimate job anyway. Um, so the one thing they get into trouble is one of them happens to be really good with playing cards. This character's father is played by Sting, of all people, which he plays that role really cold, which I think is deserving of a kid who's a fuck up. But yeah, um, so they get themselves into a high, like a high rollers card game, illegal high rollers card game with somebody named Hatchet Harry, which which is like, listen to somebody ride a bike out there. It's an interesting sound. Anyway, they get involved in a high stakes poker game with a guy named Hatchet Harry, and of course, this guy, Mr. Hatchet or Harry, he does his homework on the kid, and he knows that he's good with cards, so he decides to cheat, of course. So he winds up swindling the kid out of all his money, but he's after the kid's father, who's played by Sting. He's after that guy's bar, which is like, the two don't really go together because you would think that the father would, give his life. It would be easy to give his life for his bar for his kid, but he's like, nah, not happening. So that's a no go in that situation. Now, uh, they get some crazy amount. It's like 250 pounds. I don't know what that equivalent. I don't know what the equivalence of that is to dollars, especially if you start factoring inflation and the time period and all that stuff. I'm trying to sound smart. Is it working? So just don't know that. Just don't know that. I don't know what's the word even. God, now I feel really stupid. I don't know the conversion rate. There we go. It came to me eventually, but as time passes on, he's gonna come up with that type of money, and they gave him 5 days to come up with it. So his four friends, they're like, we don't know what to do. Well, each of his four friends put up some money, and I think he borrowed some money from somebody else in order to even buy himself into that particular game. So not only did he lose all his friends' money, he also owes like double that. So they're trying to figure out how they can do this. In comes their neighbors. I didn't get the neighbor's name though. I should have wrote the neighbor's name down. At least the character's name. I didn't do that. Apologies. But their neighbors happen to be big time boosters, and the walls are thin. They overhear them talking about robbing a marijuana grow. So they're like, "Hey, this might work. Let's rob them after they rob the other guys." So they wind up going there and really wavy. This light, I think, is doing that. Oh well. So they wind up going and robbing their neighbors, the four friends that were initially four friends that were fallen in this movie. Their neighbors go and rob some other people. They get that, they come back, and then these four guys rob them. And then they're happy, they celebrate. Uh, I think the side story is this Hatchet Harry guy also he's contracted the services of two buffoons to get these antique shotguns, but they wind up fumbling that. And it comes back to him. I don't want to make it more confusing than it already is. But anyway, back to the initial story. So the four guys are celebrating after they've robbed the guys who robbed the other guys. And turns out they've gotten some marijuana in cash. They're going to use the cash to pay off their debt and then sell the marijuana to get more money. But that marijuana happens to be the marijuana from the guy that they're going to sell it to. Meaning, so that means, try to explain it. I think I'm confusing myself and everybody else all in one. So, the marijuana they're in possession of actually belongs to the guy they're trying to sell it to. And he's like, well, I got to get it back. It pretty much all works out for these four characters because everybody I just mentioned winds up killing each other in fantastic fashion. Um, yeah. And at the end, they wind up getting, well, they still are in possession of the shotguns. They don't get the money back. Everybody pretty much gets off the hook. Um, uh, but the shotguns are worth the same amount of money that they lost, like 300,000 or something like that. But they don't know that, of course. The only individual who winds up surviving from the sub story, winds up giving them a bag which had their money in it. They're like, "Oh, it's empty," and they open it up, and it's the collector's book in there stating how much these two shotguns are worth. But they've already told their friend to go dispose of the shotguns because the shotguns link them to all these crimes and murders, right? And the end of the movie is him in a very uh, delicate situation, hanging over a bridge with the phone in one hand, with his friends calling him, and the two shotguns in the other hand. They can basically come out of this with $200,000 to $300,000 in their pocket if he doesn't throw the guns over a bridge. So now I'm going to take some time after I've just fumbled and bumbled all through that. I'm going to take some time and try to explain. It just caught my interest. It's a Bren gun. It comes up in one of the beginning scenes. So he pulls it out. I'm looking at it. And I'm like, God, that looks familiar. I know I've seen that thing somewhere. I thought the Japanese used it during World War II. And then, of course, after a quick Google search and sitting through about 2.25 videos on YouTube explaining what a Bren gun was, apparently it's a British light machine gun, one of the first used during World War II, but it was developed in the 30s, so it came out of a desire for something more mobile from World War One. But of course, it was peacetime, and then World War II rolls around, and it gets caliber change, and I'm sounding like I know everything about it, but I know nothing. I literally just learned this information like a couple seconds ago. But I thought it was interesting because I was under the impression that a Bren gun was a Japanese weapon, but I think the only similarities that weapon has with the Japanese one is that the magazine gets fed from the top. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked a little bit. I just thought that was interesting. So I gave a decent overview of the movie. I mean, this is one of Jason Statham's earlier works as well. He's playing a role in here, and he plays a comical part, which is odd if you watch The Transporter and all the other movies, always fighting and beating up people. But this one, he's just a normal guy, in which is really believable if I think about it myself. But I should have wrote down some of the jokes or funnier moments in this movie. I guess the whole thing is pretty funny that these four guys get themselves in a situation trying to scheme and scam their way to, not necessarily the top, but scheme and scam their way to a life of leisure. And they wind up getting themselves involved in a bullet storm, literally. Not necessarily coming into contact with any of the bullets, but I mean, they get bruised and beat up a little bit, but overall, they're fine. And the movie ends on a cliffhanger, like I just explained, which I think it's worth a watch. It's a pretty good movie. I'm gonna rank it pretty high. I have to say, what was my experience with this movie though? This is a Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie directed it, I think. I hope I'm saying his name right. I watched another film of his, um, and then led me to this one, but it doesn't matter. Um, so I like it. If you like me rambling about odd facts and talking about I have other movies that I've did a reaction to. I also have Breaking Bad, have The Mandalorian, which I don't like. I have The Wire. I'm starting The Americans. I have a few other shows that I've done too. So go check those out and subscribe. I'm gonna turn this off now.